All right. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. Okay, we're live. Day 4. Um Recap of last time. We essentially agreed on the overall skeleton or design of the implementation. We installed and set up Claude Code. We have as well uh, created, so using Claude Code, the scaffolding of the implementation. It's still blank in terms of what it shows as an app, but we are I think are at a good um, place given the time we've put in. Um, so the main questions I would like to address today: one, um, how to best simulate or test this. So when we did this last time, it showed some browser um, version. Not really sure if that's default or that's okay. Just judging from all the actions it took leading up to that simulation, it didn't seem to me like this was the default way of testing your application. Surely eventually you have to move it to an app, to a phone to test it. But until we do that, there must be a kind of way to actually test the app. Um, how can I say? While you're developing it, so you don't have to like keep versioning it and uh, taking it to your phone, etc. So we need to learn about that. We need to start defining the pages of the application. So things like the home page, the login screen. Um, we need to so the interface, essentially we have to design that, and we have to learn. So maybe we can just take notes of these things because it would be, I think, better. So first we need to figure out how to properly test and your app as you develop. Second, we need to come up with a design, or at least let's say imagine the design, because we're not going to be using Figma or designing it. Actually, we're just imagining what it should be. Imagine the design for all another one of these AI chatters. Mia Carlos, you are banished. When I started this whole thing, I didn't think I would be chatting with as many AI accounts as I have. But come to think of it, it's not so surprising, given how advanced AI is now. Everybody just creates AI accounts and they make them do things for them. Okay, for all the design pages. Before that, actually, I think it would be a good idea to figure out how to then move from this verbal design, which I have in mind, to the actual design. So how do we move from that verbal description essentially to the actual code? And I've been thinking about it and I don't really have an answer, even visually. So even if you draw these, let's say using Figma or whatever, I'm not really sure if you can simply, you know. So let's have a let's have a chat with with Claude about this. How to properly test and simulate your apps as you develop. How to, oops, how to go from a UI to actual code. Or design if needed. I'm not really sure how difficult Figma is to use, but I can't imagine it being too difficult. Um, so let's start with the first. Oh yeah, this is where we tested last time. So here we need to have Claude. Right? The first question is, well, maybe I should ask Claude here to, so no, rather than that, um, that's it. But yeah, so yeah, so this is what I was thinking. Oh, okay. Oops. CD. Okay. Still, it's too much. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, so something's fishy about this. Yep. Okay, it's too much. What is all of this? I think it's because, yeah, I mean, it's definitely not. Or is it? I mean, I think this is all. These are all directories and subdirectories of the installed. I guess installed libraries, but okay, let's do that instead. Or print, I should say. Print Okay. All right. So let's go back. Let us delete this one because just noise. Now let us ask. Actually, before we ask, maybe we can add this as a. No, it's fine. So, given current implementations structure, now we need to ask the questions. Okay. It says there is a clean answer at each layer. It says simulator/emulators are your daily driver, not the phone. IS simulator, free shifts with Xcode on Mac. In the Expo CLI once a dev server is running. Via Android Studio, press A in the CLI. Both get fast refresh, so most code changes show up in under a second without a rebuild. This is the best thing that actually saves you time. So this is for the front end. Expo Go versus Dev Client. This matters for your setup specifically. Plain Expo Go, the App Store app, only works while you're using libraries it ships with. The moment you add a native module, Expo Go doesn't include, which you will, e.g. for Cognito. Expo Go breaks silently or can't run it at all. Best practice: build a custom dev client once early for each app. So on-time native build can be done in the simulator, no phone needed. That then behaves like Expo Go but includes your actual native dependencies. Okay, so given what this is saying, I think it misunderstood what we are trying to do. What we are trying to do, in fact, is iterate over the interface quickly. I'm not trying to. So let's see what this says. For pure UI work with no native modules and no backend yet, you want the lightest loop possible, and that's exactly what Plain Expo gives you out of the box. No need for div clients, EAS, local stack, etc. The setup right now, just run npx expo start from each app folder and use expo go. Since you haven't added anything beyond expo router, native window, camera, no native or auth SDKs, no push notification setup yet, expo go. The plain app store / play store app supports everything you're currently using. Expo go. You don't need a custom dev client until you add a native module Expo Go doesn't ship with, which for you will probably be when okay. Yeah, so ideally I'd like this to be able to show you guys what I'm doing rather than testing on my phone, because then yeah, I mean I cannot share the screen of my phone. So it thinks web is just fine. For tab navigation, screen layout, spacing, blah blah, exactly what you're doing right now. The fastest possible loop, save file. Okay, so keep a browser tab open for the rapid iteration loop and check the simulator periodically every feature or two to catch anything that diverges on native. One snag specific to your mono repo, since apps / customer and provider each have their own package.json. but you also have packages shared. Make sure each app's Metro config is set up to resolve the shared package via workspace symlinks. Metro needs watch folders pointing at the mono repo root, or you'll get module not found for anything imported from khidma/shared. If you haven't hit this yet, because index.tsx in both apps probably isn't importing from shared meaningful yet, it's because is in both apps probably isn't importing from shared meaningful yet. Worth checking now before it becomes a confusing error feature rather than an obvious one now. What would I not bother with yet? So my first question is if the web, okay, let's go over this for now. So maybe it's best to set up Android Studio at this point, since I'm running Windows machine. Suppose I can only test with Android Studio for now. Just to be clear, aside from the browser, check how much is the browser how close, let's say. Okay. So you can test with Android emulator via Android Studio or browser preview or Expo on a physical iPhone if you or anyone nearby has one. You can still test iOS this way even without a Mac, since Expo just needs the phone, not Xcode. Worth keeping in mind if iOS specific layout bugs show up and you have no other way to check them. Cool. So this is fine. So practically, okay. How close is the browser version really? Shadows, fonts, safe areas / notches. Yes. Touch feedback gestures, so you cannot, of course. Okay. Platform specific components. Okay, so we can select a device. Let's test this. Oh, okay. And where can we essentially check the and pick a device preset? Where to pick this preset? I see. That's very interesting. Okay, cool. Let's first test the browser version in the way that they have described. It has described. And second, let's install Android Studio. I don't know how large it is, so maybe you can start with downloading it. No choice. Okay, off it goes. Then I guess we just need to I wonder how on Sublime can I have multiple terminals. Oh, okay. So what if I do that? Alright. Hold on. What does this do? Split. Oh, okay. No, we don't need to split. I can just shut this down. Here we can navigate to apps, customer, and we should try to run the command expo start. I think we may want to run npx first. If I recall correctly, that's what we've done last time. Oh, npm run web. What's the difference? Okay, let's ask Claude here. In fact, suppose I would like to run two equivalent ways. I should navigate to the alright, so npm run web is the same. We can also write npx start. Okay, let's do that just to validate, because we've run the other one before. Okay, it seems to work. It doesn't immediately throw an error. Starting Metro bundler. For anyone watching, I really don't know anything about this these tools. Okay, this is nearly done. But as I said, with AI, it's possible. Okay. So this is what the interface looks like for now. Let us. So this is fine. Okay. Wait. Let's install Android Studio. Let's test it on an actual. Okay, so the first question I have is, now browser works, how to test? How to... One second. The question is how to essentially move everything to... How to connect Android Studio with the... so I suppose you'll just like open some kind of project on Android Studio, which is essentially the root folder for iKhidma. This is at least what I imagine. Maybe not the root, maybe the app. So customer app, for example. We will have to see. We should ask. How to launch. Has it already said this before? When we were talking about the... Okay. How to open the customer app in Android later. Create an emulator, one-time setup if you haven't already. Open Android Studio. Okay, so we're gonna create an emulator. Make sure Android env vars are set. I suppose this means path. Okay, your path, yes. Your path should include these two. If ADV isn't recognized in a terminal, this is usually why. Fix. Okay, so we need ADV to essentially be working. Let me just go with the default setup for now. Don't really know. I don't really know how this impacts our development, but I suppose the default installation should be fine. So I'll set up the emulator. I'll set the environment variables. I'll start the emulator. I'll run the customer app. Interesting. Okay. Let's see.
I'm so excited.
Interesting. So I assume no. Very interesting. So I think this is due to the fact that this is a virtual machine. Yes. Um, okay. Yes, that's true. Okay, if you are on a VM fixing nested virtualization on the host, okay. So I need to provide the VM name. Uh, I am using VirtualBox. Very interesting. So let's ask the question of how to set it up on. I'm using VirtualBox, and I have control over the host. How to virtualization on the VM. It does talk more than necessary. Necessity is limited, buggy historically, especially before it may not work. You know, worth trying, but don't be surprised if it doesn't. Shut down the VM. Check your VirtualBox version. Let's do that first. So let's do this. Oh. Okay, 7.2.6 is what I have. So I should be okay. It's actually supported. Enable nested VTX via command line. Okay. Okay. Modify VM. So I need to shut down this virtual machine first. Okay. So you guys can now just stare at my face for a while until I fix this. Wait, what was the command? vbox modify VM. Name of VM. Okay. Need to look this up quickly. Okay. So this works. We box manage. Okay. So I suppose it has been enabled now. So let's continue. All right. I think the first question we should ask is whether or not Android Studio now is able to do virtualization. And let's get back to the conversation we have. Done and okay, hold on. Boot the VM. Then in the Windows guest. In Windows guest, what does that mean? Um, how to know if it's enabled? Okay. All right. Let's go through this. Okay. Let's check here. Um, more actions. Okay. What am I missing? Open Android Studio, more actions, SDK Manager, or tools, SDK Manager. Where to find this? I don't see either tools or more actions. Maybe we should just go to settings. Okay, tools. SDK Manager. Android emulator. Android emulator. Oh, okay. So some reason it shows that it's already installed. I suppose when we reinstalled the app, it worked, or it installed this driver, which should be good. But I am a bit doubtful of that. Okay, so let's skip this for now. Let's go back to this. Create an emulator. Okay, let us I mean, I can't imagine that I would have to create the emulator from the settings. That doesn't make much sense. So maybe here. Device manager. Okay. Create device. Suppose that's it. Pick a phone profiling. Pixel 7. Um, I need one that is closest in dimension to an iPhone Pro Max, so 16, 17. They're all about the same size factor. To be clear, these are all pixels, which is fascinating. I could also go with a custom one, but it says experimental, and I don't want to be doing something experimental for now. So let's just ask what pixel phone is closest in resolution, size, or I mean scale to typical iPhone Pro Max. Nine Pro XL. Okay. This will take some time. Alright, this is gonna take a few minutes. What I do want to ask in a separate conversation is the second question we had, which I believe is now gone, which was how can I go from verbal descriptions of pages and layouts say tabs etc. to actual functioning UI. So I imagine traditionally this was done by initially designing the UI in Figma. The Figma designs, which are essentially just, as far as I understand, visual mockups for what the app would look like, slash and or do, but there's nothing actually connected to the backend for these pages. But using these, a developer, front-end developer, would take in the Figma, I don't know what to call them, designs, schemas, I don't know, schematics, I don't really know, but they would take them and they would write the code that does whatever the Figma design looks like. So how to bridge this gap? Let us actually just confirm. How is this done traditionally in software dev team? How okay. This is done, in fact. Took less than I thought. Okay. Okay. Make sure Android and vars are set. So at this point ADB should be working, and I should confirm here that it isn't. The best way to do this is to just go to path. Yes. Environment variables. We need to add new variables where, for example, Android home is, let's find that SDK. Alright, wait, app data. I think that's a hidden folder, so yes, local Android SDK. So I should take this path and add it here. Path. Yes, and so now, if you launch a new terminal, you should be able to run ADB, which we do. Start emulator in Android Studio. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so this is what we're missing, which is that didn't work first time. Now it does. Let's see if it really is patchy and buggy as people say, as Claude claims it to be. From command line. Which command line? This needs to be clarified. I assume from suggested minimum RAM to avoid. Ooh. Fascinating. So it's not very happy about what I'm doing because I'm really running a phone inside my virtual machine, which is not ideal. It is complaining about RAM though, which is logical. I may want to dedicate more RAM to this machine at this stage. So let us do that now, in fact. I suppose I do have to power it off. Anything else I need to do here? No. Let me power it off. We launch VirtualBox. Let's see if we can change the memory. Yes, we can. So let's go for 32, which is a lot, but it's fine. So what is that in megabytes exactly? We need to multiply 1024 by 32, which is 32768. Okay. Now let's power it on. There must be a better way to control shift delete or control end or something. Okay, control alt end, I think it was. No, control alt. How to send control shift delete to the virtual machine? Control alt delete. It was control. Honestly, I can't remember. Well, I guess I'm just stuck with doing this for now. Okay, we do have 32 GB. Let's open up Android Studio and try launching that phone again. Okay, let's see if it boots at all. And let's go over the. That's correct. Let's go over the answer. I don't really know if it's gonna boot up or what is the status of this device. Oh, it is starting up still. Okay. So I'll let it do its thing and let's read this. A verbal description is bad at conveying spatial and visual relationships, layout, blah blah. Words are sequential, UI is spatial. That's true. Somewhere along the way, then okay. How traditional teams solve this? They don't go straight from words to code. They insert stages, each one removing a specific kind of ambiguity. So requirements and user stories. These are text. Verbal, I meant by as in text. So okay. Low fidelity wireframes, boxes and labels, resolve layout. But this is weird though. I mean, high fidelity mockups. So mockups are on Figma. Visual ambiguity, exact color, size, spacing, blah blah. Developer handoff spec. Designer annotates the mockup with measurements, edge cases, interaction details, implementation, code checked against the mockup pixel by pixel, visual QA. Okay. So this is how a traditional team would do it, which is what I envisioned. But I am not a team. The expensive mistake teams avoid is jumping from stage 1 straight to stage 5. Each intermediate artifact is cheap, and throw away and revise code is not. Here's how two paths compare. So here's how Claude suggests we bridge this gap. Anchor each screen to a known pattern, not a blank description. So a make screen where customer picks a time slot, say build a booking time screen, similar to how Uber Careem let you pick a pickup time, but for a job slot instead. A reference join point removes a huge amount of ambiguity that pure adjectives, clean, modern never resolve. Write screens as short inventory, not paragraph. Okay, so be more structured in your text. This is much less ambiguous than a sentence. Okay, iterate on a real runnable preview, not a disposable mockup, wherever possible. How's the phone going? Still starting up. Maybe this is because it's the first time, but I hope it is. Iterate on a real runnable preview. Okay. Because your Expo, the most useful render isn't an HTML approximation in a browser widget, it's the actual screen running in Expo Go / the simulator, since the native Wind classes and React Native layout primitives don't map one-to-one to web. So for this project, the tightest loop is I write the real component, you look at it in Expo, you react to what you see instead of writing more prose. Looking and reacting is dramatically faster than describing and hoping. Why is Claude being a little too funny / sassy at the moment? Lock the design system once early. Your packages / shared design tokens, these are exactly the traditional team's design system. They are what let a designer or AI make consistent visual calls. Batch by flow. So we need to set these at some point. Batch by flow, not by screen. All flow at once, rather than one screen in isolation. UI decisions on screen 3 depend on what screen 1 already established. That's correct. If you want, I can start by building the customer app first flow. Nope. Want me to write a first pass? No. Okay, so it is suggesting what I was thinking, which is just we're gonna iterate verbally with Claude. How did it go? Oh, that's an issue. So it hasn't succeeded in launching this application. That sucks. It may mean that I may have to set this up on my actual machine, not a VM. which I'm not too enthusiastic about. Let's see. So this may be debuggable, but running as a process. Okay, let's shut this down. Okay, I'll let this take its time. Maybe again. Oh, I've never seen this before, so this is a good sign. This looks like a classic Android pop-up. I'll give it some time and I'll be back in a few minutes. That is unlucky. Okay. It seems we may be having some issues. Okay, let's go back to here. Okay, at this stage, maybe we can change the conversation by saying, um, few minutes trying to boot. فهد يعني let's make the B an M and I will be happy inshallah. No need to go that far. Takes a few minutes trying to boot, but then I get an error saying not connect to it's the default model for me. Yes, definitely less tokens than Opus, but it's good. The core problem listed virtualization. Hmm. Okay. Very interesting. So let's actually see if this is true. We need to go to setting system. Processor. Hmm. Okay, if this is the issue, we have a couple of things to try. So we need to shut down the VM and try to see if we can enable this. At the moment, I cannot find such an option. Or in fact, I do find it, but it's already ticked on, enabled. The other option is maybe we can try different VM software, maybe VMware or another. Use the physical address extension feature of the host CPU and virtual machine. Okay. Let me shut this down and continue the discussion on my actual machine. Why do I need a VM? To share my screen, I'm sharing the entire screen, so I'm creating a VM. Yes, so this is what I've done. شوف, the setup I have is a bit funky. I have my actual machine, inside it a VM. The VM inside it I have Android Studio, which is trying to emulate a VM for the Android phone. I know it's a bit silly, but it's what I have. The para virtualization interface setting in particular is more likely fix. Okay. Okay. Let's try booting VirtualBox. Sorry, the VM again.
These voice.
Okay. Okay. Time for the moment of truth. If this doesn't work, we're gonna have to explore another way. Let's see. Okay. Doesn't seem like much life is coming to this device. Let's give it a few moments. I mean, it's the first boot, so it may take time, but I'm not very optimistic right now. Okay. I think we may be cooked. Okay, let's go back to Claude and explore our options. I'm not really sure if this is a VirtualBox issue or generally what I'm trying to do issue or what it is essentially, but we have to ask. Good question. We can ask. Um, okay. Um, we have 4 people watching on YouTube. That's crazy. I mean, I don't know if they are all my friends. يعني بس fascinating. There is a real difference, but somewhat better, not solved. Would probably improve your odds, but it's still necessary visualization of the same fundamental long dependency chain. It's a paid product. You'd be redoing your entire VA up. The more reliable fix if you're open to it. Skip VirtualBox's guest Hyper-V layer entirely. So it's saying that I may get away with, but that's the thing. So can I connect my emulated phone on the host device with my app running on the VM? Can I on the emulated phone on the host device and or rather, I don't know, and test the app connected, let's say. This may be what we try next, if it works. Okay. So we would just have to set this up. Not really sure if it will work, maybe it won't. Regardless, I think it's enough for today. Next time we will definitely focus on trying to get this to work. So we want to be able to iterate quickly. If this is the way we're gonna be developing the interface, which is, I imagine, the most difficult part when it comes to bridging the gap between what I want and what the AI can do, or what the AI does. This is as opposed to, for example, the backend, where it's very clear what you're gonna be doing. So you want to essentially, so you want to do something, you can only describe it anyway. So you cannot really provide like a visual for it the same way with Figma and right. Regardless, so to be brief, we need to iterate quickly and many times, and so we need some kind of way to be able to have the app displayed to us as we build it. And this is what we're gonna focus on for next time, hopefully inshallah tomorrow. Till then, thank you guys for joining me and chatting with me like that, and take care and see you tomorrow inshallah.